colleague, members of the University of Cape Coast, particularly of mention the Directorate of Public Affairs that has been very supportive of this course. And of course, to my special one, the wife of the rapist, Professor Georgina Oduro. This morning, I have invited you, as Akusia earlier mentioned, to clarify further issues relating to publications that Modern Ghana and Phoenix published alleging that Professor George K.T. Oduro plagiarized his PhD, quoting them academic paper at UCC, and that during the period of his PhD, he was involved in a rape case, and that led the university sanctioning him, extending his PhD graduation to 7 years at the University of Cape Coast. So the key issues here, PhD, UCC, plagiarism, and the publications also alluded that Professor George K.T. Oduro, after his leadership in the University of Cape Coast as Pro Vice Chancellor, got employment with the University of Education, Winneba. Therefore, Professor Oduro is now working with Winneba, UEW. And I want to state that Professor George K.T. Oduro's name has never been on the pay voucher or pay slip of the University of Education, Winneba. It's also said the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC, was investigating the issue of plagiarism. And it's very interesting that at a time that that release came out, I was on an assignment in Bolga on behalf of GTEC. So up front, you see the mischief in that. It also said the Central Regional Police Command was searching for Oduro in a case of plagiarism, and thus, too, is blatant lie. The University of Cape Coast, especially the Vice Chancellor, the Pro Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, and the entire management have reacted to that publication, rubbishing it, and I'm most grateful to the university for this prompt response in clarifying the situation. Apart from the university, I went to the net to read almost about 75 comments on the publications. And I'm very, very happy that people are fighting for the truth. I decided just to post one which clearly indicated that Professor Oduro never had his PhD, University of Cape Coast. There was another one, and the person I know very well happened to be my mate during the undergraduate days, and he recounted the role I played as SRC president, twice president of the National Union of Ghana Students, and therefore concluded that the publication was mischief. I'm most grateful to all those. I want to indicate that in Cambridge, my paper was adjudged. The whole UK, in terms of educational leadership, my thesis was adjudged the second best by the British Educational Leadership and Management Association. And this was from Cambridge. Of course, I must admit that the foundation, undergraduate foundation I had, upon which I leveraged to attain this feat, came from the University of Cape Coast. And I really appreciate that. I also want to say that my thesis, the academic paper they are referring to, became the core of originating what the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service is now using strongly to develop, strengthen the capacity of leaders of schools in our country. And that is the Leadership for Learning program. It came out of my dissertation. So whoever says that my work was plagiarized, of course, is clearly not in tune with reality. And what really baffles me is the fact that the person is hiding his identity. The identity. It's only cowards that cannot come out boldly to talk about things. I also want to affirm for your, it is said that seeing is believing. This was my graduation time, and it was in University of Cambridge. And even whilst in Cambridge, you can see, I don't have a pointer, I would have pointed at that. I projected my Ghanaian identity. You can see the cloth in which I was. That is Cambridge for you. And when I finished Cambridge, the university, by virtue of the hard work, retained me for a postdoctoral research fellowship. And I did that for 2 years. And when I came back to the University of Cape Coast, University of Cambridge never left me. University of Cambridge followed me to University of Cape Coast. And the Leadership for Learning program we see was actually a collaboration between the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration and then the Center for Commonwealth Education Leadership for Learning Network of the University of Cambridge. So, ladies and gentlemen, that publication, as the University of Cape Coast management has already said, is a mischief. Never true. I take particular exception of this publication because it has serious implications for the University of Cape Coast. This is a university that has been ranked #1. And so if you make such publication, such smearing publication, then you are indicting the university. You say that the university doesn't employ quality, rigor, screening to get its staff. But the University of Cape Coast doesn't just appoint people. The University of Cape Coast would not allow any employee to rank through the ranks of a director, Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, provost, College of Education, Educational Studies, pro-vice chancellor, University of Cape Coast, dean, School of Educational Outreach, Development Outreach, and then upon all that, grant Professor George K. T. Oduro a post-retirement contract. The University of Cape Coast will never do that with rapists and plagiarized people. So that is the issue. But the big question now is, what was surprising? Ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't surprised at all when I read the stories by John Boateng, and then published by Modern Ghana and Phoenix. Of course, when my uncle, one Major Ben Donko, sent me the thing, what I said to him is that, Uncle, I laugh at it because I know the source. The big question is, why the fabricated story? Who is John Boateng and why now? Who is the coward behind John Boateng's post? The genesis of that fabricated story stems from a publication I posted on my Facebook handle titled "The Plight of a Young Lecturer." A young lecturer of the University of Education, Winneba, was subjected to psychological torment by an illegal demolition of her building facility. This facility was built on the land purchased from the Land Commission, duly registered, and building permit granted by the Refute Municipal Assembly. It was alleged that the demolition exercise was at the instance of the Refute MP, Honorable Alexander Afenyu-Markin. I asked the big question, can this be true of an MP who is a lawyer by profession and occupies a strategic lawmaking position in Parliament? That's a big question I asked in my post. Then I asked the MP to clarify. Quote unquote, that's what I wrote. It will be very helpful if the MP comes out to clarify the situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I said the land was legally purchased. This was the Lands Commission letter duly acknowledging purchase of the land. The land was duly registered, and permit was granted by the Municipal Assembly, having paid all the legitimate fees. Further information from some people in Winneba, I realized that even though they are saying that that person was talking about the MPP, it has nothing to do with politics. Because the victims, those who have suffered thus, are not marked by party colors. It is a vulnerable. Later on, I'll project one of the lamentations by one of them. The attack is on vulnerable people, voiceless people. So I decided that the voiceless must be given voice. And hence, I posted that. On that very day, I posted the story on my Facebook handle in the evening around 9 p.m. Honorable Afenyu-Markin phoned me. He said he searched for my phone and called me. He denied knowledge of the demolition and instructed me to pull down the post with apology, or myself and the traumatized young lecturer, Dr. Mercy Otin. Someone may ask, you are in UCC, why the interest in UEW? But I need to clarify that the lady happened to be the younger sister of my wife. She happened to be someone we nurtured up to her PhD level. So she's more or less my daughter. And that is why I had to play a particular role in this. So he instructed that the two of us, if I did not pull down the post and apologize, I will meet him in court the next day, Monday, 20th November, on a charge of defamation. I refused to pull down the post and suggested that he clarified publicly if he didn't instruct the demolition of the facility, as he claimed. Then he asked me, if tomorrow, you are a professor, if tomorrow someone posts on his social media that Professor Oduro has raped a student or traded marks for sex, will you come publicly to clarify? I responded, if it is an allegation, I will clarify. He said he won't publicly clarify, and that it's unfair for him, and reiterated his threat of filing a case of defamation against us, that is, my sister-in-law and myself and her husband, in court on Monday, 20th November 2023. So we also contacted a lawyer ready for the sermons so we could appear in court. But all we saw was threats and harassment. One gentleman called P.K. Sapon, the next day sent me a message. And the first message was a press release by the Refute Municipal Assembly dated 17th November 2023. That was a day after the demolition. And the press release was giving notice to the public that in 2022, specific date November, it's very small, I can't remember, 2022, the assembly took a decision that anybody who bought land from some individuals mentioned would have the land demolished. So I asked the gentleman, if the decision was taken in 2022, why do you now inform the public in 2023? 2, if the decision was taken by the Municipal Assembly in 2022, why did the Municipal Assembly grant permits, building permits, to the young lady and her husband to put up the building? You grant permits, and then you go back to demolish that. Why? The explanation P.K. Sapon gave was that there had not been any challenge in the past as we are having now, which implies that if I had not posted that story on my Facebook handle, this one too would have gone unnoticed. This injustice would have gone unnoticed. Then P.K. Sapon sent a threatening message to my sister-in-law, introduced himself. My name is P.K. Sapon. I am chatting with you in connection with the post Professor K.T. made on Facebook defaming Honorable Afenyo-Markin. The accusations are false. Please ask Professor George to take down the post and apologize to Honorable Afenyo-Markin, lest a suit would be fired. Well, a suit will be fired, and you will be joined in shame. You sent all the videos and pictures of to the Prof. We are much aware of that. Ask him to pull down and apologize or face the consequences. And trust me, you would not be left out in the suit. Another one from P.K. Sapon. And Doc, if this is your way of defaming people, remember that same can be done to you. Don't be surprised if you get a dose of your own medicine, quote and unquote. When Mercy forwarded these to me, I sent him a message that he should stop threatening the young lady. He replied, I have not threatened or harassed her. You have called for this upon her. You were asked to pull down your post. You refused. Then I sent another message. My caution to you, if you, look at how I spelled it there. If you dare threaten her again, that one I said him, her again, our lawyers will take the matter up. If anything unnatural happens to her, you will be held responsible. Then he replied, "Nonsense. Where is the threat in this? You have the nerve to speak about law when you have gone out there to defame a nobleman. Such nonsense." Then I replied, "Ha ha ha. It is empty minds that resort to insults in matters of critical thinking. So I won't insult you back. God bless you." The harassment, the intensity of the harassment was such that Mercy has to leave Winneba, remove her children from Winneba school, and leave because her safety was being threatened, and she's currently in Tema, Sphincter specifically. This is the situation. Ironically, P.K. Sapong added a video to justify the fact that the honorable MP was innocent. But then the contents of the video turned out to confirm the fact that he was the one who authorized demolition of the facility. When this came, I got some further information on this, that responsible men cautioned the MP that that particular land had been registered, so he shouldn't touch it. But the MP went ahead, instructed that that land should be demolished. So if the MP comes out to say that I have defamed him by virtue of that fact that I have a post on my Facebook handle which was drawing his attention to the allegation that it is alleged that it was at his instance that the demolition took place. And he comes out to deny that he knew nothing about it. And based on that, asked me to pull down the post. Then it's obvious that the MP is strategically lying to the community and hearers. Then on 21st November, my brother-in-law, hey, your sister-in-law's husband is your what? Is it my rival or? My rival, okay. Phoned me up and told me the MP called them and threatened that he was going to wage a social media war against Professor Oduro. War. But I am not on the course of a full-blown fabrication war. I am on the path of giving voice to the voiceless. I am on the path of ensuring that justice is done to this young lady who has spent so much money. You can imagine. And this event occurred in front of her 4-year-old child. Look at the psychological torment. Now in November, we are talking about fighting against violence of vulnerables. And an MP, a lawyer of course, could subject such a lady into the psychological torment. And you want me to keep quiet, intimidate me, to keep quiet because you intimidate others to suffer without talking, keep quiet and suffer, as custodians would put it. I will not do that. The only thing that will make me pull down that post is when justice has been given to this young lady. Key statements, you will listen to the statements in the declaration video or audio. 1, so assuming somebody just put something out there that you are a rapist. So you should come and clarify. Yes, and someone has really, John Boateng has really put that in there. And he asked, would I come out to clarify? And this is the clarification I'm doing because I have nothing to hide. He should also come out publicly and say that I do not know anything about the demolition. I didn't give any instruction for the demolition of that facility. If he has nothing to hide, I have nothing to hide. That is why I've called to clarify. He should also clarify. As at this morning, as we speak, I want to give him the very last chance. So what I'm saying is that if that man does not pull down his post, he will see a full-blown war because he is hurting me, and I'll fight him back. I'll fight that Professor Oduro for thinking that he is the wisest man to mess me up. Unfortunately, I do not pride myself as the wisest person. I pride myself as a humble person who stands for truth and justice no matter what. So that is not true of me. So then, we'll all start asking people to clarify. We will be there. Then somebody says, you've also done this. Go and clarify. As for me, I will always clarify if there's any allegation. So I urge him also to come out and clarify. The complexity, the conundrum. Honorable Alexander Afenyo-Markin, you are a lawyer. You say my Facebook post has defamed you. You claim you never instructed the demolition of the traumatized young lady's building facility, a building that she undertook based on permits granted by municipal assembly on a land legally purchased from the Land Commission and duly registered in the names of Mr. Victor Opoku and Dr. Mercy Oting. You threatened going to court on 20th November 2023 if I don't pull down the post. Mr. Opoku, Dr. Mercy Oting, and I agreed that you should go to court. Instead of going to court, as threatened, you resort to threats, harassing the young lady to put pressure on me to pull down the post. You threaten you will go on a fabricated story warpath against me. You get slanderous story published about me with factual inaccuracies. We have a saying, say, who diatra, who diatra and no say. So if you say that I got my PhD in UCC, when the whole world, a colleague of mine who got it, he was in China, called me and asked, George, did you go to do another PhD in UCC? The whole world. Who diatra and no say, ne to me anyhow. Evidence from your own camp is explicit that you directed the demolition of the structure. Instead of going a remorseful reconciliation tangent, you threatened me to pull down my genuine post. And ladies and gentlemen, my brother-in-law calls me and tells me, now a delegation has gone to see the pastor of my sister-in-law, appealing that the case shouldn't be pursued through the police and the court, and that they are arranging to get them another land and build the thing for facility for them. If you have realized that what you are doing is not right, why don't you humbly come out, call Professor Oduro, tell Professor Oduro that it wasn't an intentional thing. There was something going on and we wanted to correct. We didn't know that your sister-in-law's was a registered one, so it's mistaken. Please, can we resolve? That would have convinced me to pull down. But you don't come threatening me as you threaten others to make me keep quiet, to force me to zip my mouth. I will never, never, never allow myself to be intimidated to progress injustice. Why should such bullying be allowed to continue? In conclusion, I want to indicate that Honorable Afenyo-Markin's declaration of social media war against Professor George K.T. Oduro best points to the fact that he schemingly sponsored the fabricated story authored by the so-called, whether his real name or not, John Boateng, and published by Modern Ghana and Phoenix. No amount of fabricated stories will intimidate me to pull down the post about Honorable Afenyo-Markin's insensitive, tyrannical, and erroneous instruction that led to the demolition of Dr. Otten's building on her properly acquired piece of land. Until the young lady, and I repeat, until the young lady and her husband get justice, the post will never be removed. In view of the fact that, one, an MP should be seen as protecting the interest of individuals in his constituency rather than causing them psychological torture. Two, a lawyer should not use threat of court action as an intimidatory tool for suppressing the rights of the voiceless in the society. And three, Honorable Afenyo-Markin's unwarranted declaration of full-grown war with me, I will, one, petition the Speaker of Parliament to advise Honorable Afenyo-Markin, the Idi Amin of Winneba, Futu, to stop his intimidatory orientation in dealing with the vulnerable. Two, petition the Ghana Bar Association to encourage the Honorable MP to prioritize the court in addressing issues instead of resorting to threats and harassment. Three, lodge a formal complaint with the police about the fabricated stories and the threats to Professor Oduro and his family, and Mr. Opoku Briju and his family. If any unnatural harm is inflicted on any member of these families, Afenyo-Markin and P.K. Sapong should be held responsible. And my family, the chief, Nana Suyaku, the 11 of Aguna Safo, is being notified with this. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for listening. Thank you very much.